Nobody wants to experience feeling like because of who you are and how you were brought into this world, you're not worthy of love.
I just have to bring him home. He's in my heart and he's our kid. Like, he is our kid. But when you meet your child is a totally different child. I imagined Huxley to be this like shy, sweet, I don't know how to explain it, but I just imagine this like shy little guy who just wants to be held and cuddled. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. He couldn't get any cuter if he tried. Like, seriously, look at this face. Do you don't like my glasses, do you? Do you to wear them? It's a minute, let me try. Oh wow. No, he said no, no, no. Tantrum. No more. Come on, let's go. You're not gonna throw a fit when you don't get your way. Are you done fitting? Are you done? Are you all done? Huxley has had multiple meltdowns.
I'm not having a good day today.
We never tell you guys the truth. And that's why you don't see Huxley a lot in the vlogs. He's probably having a meltdown. Are you done? We are going to be doing a stem cell for Hux. He is missing part of his brain. We're hoping to do a stem cell treatment on Hux, which is very pricey, but hoping to get a treatment done on him that could help regrow some of that brain material.
You know, with international adoption, sometimes there's unknowns and things that are not transparent on files and things like that. And once Huxley came home, there was a lot more special needs that we weren't aware of.
I think what Jim's trying to say is that after multiple assessments, after multiple evaluations, numerous medical professionals have felt that he needed a different fit and that his medical needs, he needed more.
We haven't made this video yet. It's because we've been trying to protect his privacy, his rights, and also just try to not mess up his future that was laid out in front of us. We're trying our best to make sure we don't impact that at all.
So there's been this story going around about this blogger who rehomed her autistic child that she adopted from China. Some of you guys know that I am adopted, and I have a lot of feelings and thoughts about this. So I wanted to kind of come to you guys and have a conversation with you guys and sort of put my voice out there into the ether. So to bring you guys up to speed, there is this blogger named Myka Stauffer, and she is a mommy blogger, and she really became popular when she was making videos about her international adoption. She adopted a child from China, and I believe she has about 37 videos, or had about 37 videos about this particular child. She became really, really well known for these particular types of videos about this particular child. And recently she made a video with her husband where she talked about rehoming him because he has autism. There were a lot of unexpected things that came from his having autism. In the video, she basically infers that there were some things that happened between Huxley and her biological children that made her feel like they needed to rehome him. It is not particularly uncommon that a family will adopt a child and they will find out that that child is not a fit. That does happen, right? It doesn't usually happen after 3 years. Now listen, you guys know me. I like to sort of look at both sides. I say that things are not usually, in my view, black and white. They're usually undulating sort of shades of gray. But this was one of those cases where the more I looked into it, the more upset it made me, the more it pissed me off, and the more it made me want to talk about this issue that I have in general with these YouTube family channels, and also just the culture that comes from this. So the time of me filming this video, let me see how many subscribers Myka Stauffer has. She has 713,000 subscribers. Let me look at her views. She usually gets about 80,000 views per video. Let me see about her videos about Huxley if they're still there. So she has several videos about Huxley, and they're clearly one of her more popular videos on her channel. Most of these videos have over 200,000 views. Some of them have, probably at the very least 40,000 views. And, I'm just gonna say, I've had a pretty good month on YouTube, and I know what comes from getting these views, and I know that she's been able to make quite a bit of money. She's also done a lot of sponsorship deals, which I also know makes her quite a bit of money, especially since she works with larger corporations. And so long story short, her adopting this child was a big cash grab for her. For me, looking at this was clear cut, her adopting a child for the aesthetic, adopting a child for the views, adopting a child so that she could get clout. And I find it disgusting. I find it to be absolutely disgusting. Now, this is gonna be the little portion of the video where I talk about this, because this is what really upsets me. I've been on YouTube since I was 15 years old, and I'm very thankful that when I had my little 15-year-old YouTube videos up, I was not popular. YouTube was not what it is now. Most of those videos are not well-known videos where I would have to live with them for the rest of my life. My issue in general with people who bring their children onto YouTube is that those children, without even, before they even have an ability to really think for themselves or advocate for themselves or decide what they particularly want, are now characters on YouTube. Let me tell you, there's a lot of my life that is permanently affected by the fact that I have a YouTube channel. There's a lot of things I can't quite do because I have a YouTube channel. And I've taken that, I've accepted that, I've embraced that. That is what it is. I love my job. But I have such an issue with people who bring their children onto YouTube without fully thinking through what the repercussions could be for that child long term. This kid was adopted so that she could have a vibe, okay, on her YouTube channel. And not only that, it was documented, and now this kid, who's only 4 years old, is the focus of this news story. And that kid's gonna grow up and have all of these complicated feelings about that. I was adopted by a family who ultimately didn't want me because of things that I was born with, and I didn't choose them. I didn't choose this family. I didn't decide this is who I want to be with. They adopted me. They put me in front of a camera, right? They decided that they wanted to do these things, and then they decided that I wasn't worthy. Now, here's the thing. I think a lot of people looking at this story could say, you know what, it's not totally unreasonable for her to rehome a child who is difficult. But here's the thing. If you're going to adopt a child, you need to be in a position where you are ready for anything. Because that's what being a parent is. So I'm adopted. I don't really necessarily get along very well with my family for a lot of reasons, which we won't get into in this video. But there's one thing I know for a fact. As hard as our relationship has been, I still for a fact know that my adopted parents would never want to stop being my parents. My little brother and I are both adopted. His mother had a lot of complications when she was pregnant with him. He's had developmental issues for his entire life. He still lives with my parents because of this. I watched my parents take my little brother to therapist upon therapist upon therapist, doctor's office to doctor's office to doctor's office, and they never quit. They never quit on him because when they saw that little kid in the foster home, they made a decision that they were going to be his forever parents. They made the decision that we're never going to give up on this kid, regardless of how hard it may be. My parents don't have a ton of money. They never quit on my little brother. These people regularly, in their videos, because I've watched quite a few of them at this point, flaunt their wealth. There's one video that people are talking about where, she's wearing this $1,000 watch while asking her followers to help give money so that they could raise money for Huxley. Oh, side note too, this is the cream on the cake. After she rehomed him, we're now finding out that she went and did a trip to Bali. Basically what I'm saying is that these people have money. They have the money, they just don't want to do it. They've got the resources, but they don't want to give them to Huxley. A lot of kids who get rehomed are rehomed because when really looking at it, either it's not a fit or there aren't enough resources. They didn't really estimate their resources correctly. They have resources. One of the things that she talked about was Huxley would get out of the bed at night. They could hire somebody to sit there with the child at night and sleep in the same room. If they wanted to find a person to come in and take care of the kid, to watch the kid, to sit with the kid, to make sure that they get the kid's homework done, even to sit with the kid, they have that money. They just don't want to do it. I want people to stop Having and adopting children, if they're not ready for those kids to be completely different than them, to have thoughts and ideas that are completely different from them, to maybe not totally be the picture perfect child that they want them to be, I need y'all to stop doing that. Because what you're doing is you're setting the foundation for years of trauma and abandonment issues. Shit that no one wants to experience. Nobody wants to experience feeling like because of who you are and how you were brought into this world, you're not worthy of love. And we can sit here and say, no, it was this, no, it was this, da, 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 and maybe there's a point there, but that's how the kid's gonna feel. You know, this YouTube shit, look, I love it, but we've seen a couple of times now how these parents will exploit their children for views and for money. And I haven't spoken really transparently about this, but I've been a YouTuber for all of my adult life. And there's an underbelly of the way that we're using the internet now that makes me deeply, deeply uncomfortable. I don't think people totally have processed how unhealthy some of this is, how unhealthy it is for children to be published on the internet, especially with what people do with images of children on the internet. It sickens me. The fact that someone would adopt somebody for money, that someone would use them for sponsorships, solicit donations from their followers that they do not need and that they know they don't need. It is this otherworldly, bleak bullshit that I have even I have a hard time processing. I have a hard time processing it because it's so dark. It's so dark. We're using children to make money. And while we're doing that, we're putting out and projecting images that damage these children, that put them in positions that they don't need to be. We're in the beginning of all this, right? Give it 10 years. Give it 10 years. These kids are gonna come out and say how much this messed with them, and it will be too late. People will look at people like Myka Stauffer and say, well, I want my kid to be on YouTube too. Part of why this pisses me off too is I know that part of it is she spent all of this time building up this kid she was adopting from China. And then when she adopted the kid, well, the kid wasn't willing to tap dance on camera, wasn't willing to be cute the way that she wanted on camera, wasn't willing to fit into the aesthetic the way that she wanted on camera, because he has autism and he's an actual person, not a doll, not an actor. Now, I know that some people look at their families these days as businesses, but that's not the way you should ever look at your family. You should look at your family as the people you take care of, the people you want to bring up, the people who you would go to the end of the earth for. And the fact that you weren't willing to do that, Myka, the fact that you were willing to quit on your child like that, it repulses me. I'm so thankful that I had adopted parents who said, we're gonna love our child. It's not always been easy, and I've got a long list of issues with my parents, but they're my parents. And I know that they would personally feel like a piece of their heart, a piece of their soul is missing if I were to ever call someone else my parents. I think she's a little too happy to talk about Huxley's new mommy. You know, I only saw one tear fall from her face during the whole video. I know that deep down inside, I mean, not even deep down inside, they feel relief for not having this kid around anymore. And that's some sick shit to me. That's some sick shit. Putting your kid back into the foster system after 3 years. Again, kids get rehomed. That is a thing that does happen. Sometimes a family is not a fit. That's not something you usually establish after 3 years. After 3 years of integrating your biological children into this child's life, treating them like your kid breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. I think I've said what I want to say. I'm sure I haven't said everything correctly. I'm sure I was crass in this video, but this shit really got under my skin. This shit really got under my skin. Being adopted is so confusing and can be so frustrating and so alienating. And to very publicly have someone, you know, make all this money and solicit all these donations because of you, and then to give you up because you were too complicated. You can't flaunt your wealth and then act like, you know, it would have been too much for you to get somebody to help. Because there's nothing wrong with being a parent and acknowledging that you need help. There's nothing wrong with that. Please stop adopting children when you're not ready to take care of them regardless of how they turn out. Please stop. You are really helping no one by doing that. So anyway, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.